Colgate is one of the oldest company. And when I'm saying oldest, it's actually the 11th oldest company in the globe. And just to give you a little bit more perspective to it, actually it was founded in 1805 by William Colgate. So we are more than 300 years old company. But even with that, we are actually proud to be the most ethical and one of the most innovative company. And we actually take care of people, pets, and our planet. So sustainability is our one of the biggest goal. Saying that, when you say talk about Colgate, right, we always the toothpaste comes in our head, but there are many more stuff what Colgate does, and these are just some of the brands it operates in. Some of them are familiar to you, some of them are probably not. So just to give some of them is the PCS Skin Ultra-MD. Those are like the recently acquired by Colgate and very innovative product. If you have not used, I would really give a big shout out, to use those. Now these are the brands, but actually when you go into Walmart or any of the superstore, where do you find us, right? So we have 4 categories. One is the oral care, all the Colgate products you'll see. Then there is a personal care category. Then there's a home care and the pet nutrition, which is our Hills brand. So we are on a big digital transformation journey on the Hills one. We actually just inaugurated one of the smart factory in the world and in the Kansas City. We have more than 40,000 jobs runs in our environment, right? So when I speak about this 40,000 jobs, these are each workload. And those workloads actually starts from your payroll planning, from any HR process, goes to your operational planning, invoice printing, and many more. Each job is critical here. Now, as of today, that 40,000 number has actually reached almost more than 50,000 plus. Now, if we really talk from a perspective of how much those job runs, so that number is actually amazing. That's like more than 17 millions. So when I'm saying 17 millions, right? So the jobs are, some of them are minute jobs, some of them are hourly jobs, a daily, a monthly, so on and so forth. And each job is very, very critical for our business. So we really need to really ensure to take care of those, to monitor and configure correctly. This whole digital transformation journey, we put into 4 buckets. Okay, what is our goal? What are the challenges we'll have? How we can actually approach this, and what are the results we can see? So if I quickly talk about the goals, the previous product before Stonebranch has been there in our environment for quite a few years. And any new enhancements we require was actually kind of a cumbersome job, I would say, right? So when we start thinking, right, one of the guiding principle was, hey, we should look at the cloud. We should look at the SaaS-based solution, right? So the obvious question, why SaaS? Why cloud, right? So the approach was, let's do more with less. Again, why I'm saying that. So our previous tool, if we want to do an upgrade, it was probably an year-long project. And it would probably take 40 different team members from infrastructure side, technology side, application side, business side, and so on and so forth. We really didn't want to invest so much. Whereas if you really go with the cloud solution, probably the efforts will be less, but we can get more out of the product. So that's just one example. Anwar will talk more as part of the journey. Now the second piece is about the challenges, right? So as I mentioned, this tool has been there for so many years, right? And when we say so many years, there is so much history behind it. And as I mentioned, 40,000 jobs, 17 million runs. So there's huge complexity in it, and you really don't have the right owners or the right people, right processes, because process has been evolving as well, right? So how we really ensure that we do this without really impacting our business. So that was our biggest challenge. So to mitigate that, we really put an approach which was like more of a phased manner, right? So we don't want to really boil the ocean. we start small, right? We start small, we win it, we measure the success, we celebrate the success, and then we go to the next step. And then take all the learnings from the first step and then go to the second, and then take learning from second, go to the third. That's how we actually approached it. Again, Anwar will talk more in detail, but that was the key. And because of that, the results were awesome. We literally did this migration without any business impact or any critical business issue. I would say actually no business issue at all. And this was like really amazing. And I'm really, really proud of that. The one more thing I just really want to share here is, as part of this journey, is one of the value Colgate has is being courageous. And this whole team who were involved in this migration were courageous to take on this project, take this challenge on, and give this awesome results to our business.
So one of the main reasons, like Mangesh mentioned, we wanted to do the SaaS solution. We wanted to make sure that we have a specific set of needs, and we make sure that we achieve those needs, right? And then we didn't want it to be just a simple job scheduler. We wanted to take the tool to as a workload automation, and to be honest, beyond the workload automation. So whatever the obstacles we had, we wanted to turn it into an opportunity. So this migration, so in terms of the high availability, so if you see on the right-hand side, those are our needs, the list of needs there. The high availability, we wanted a solution that is available to us anytime, regardless of if there is any issues with the infrastructure, there is a database issues, and an application issue. We wanted something that always, if it is having a good failover mechanism, and then making sure that all the jobs or the tasks are running all smoothly. So, and then the second one was unified solution. We wanted to make sure the tool does everything what we are needed to be. So we didn't want to have a separate application that is going to have for reporting, a separate application or for doing something else, a separate screen for monitoring or different things, right? So we wanted all the solution in one place. It's a little bit easier as a user perspective or as an admin perspective to maintain and manage those tools. So that was one of the need. A self-service, increasingly, we wanted to empower the users. I think sometimes we kind of have those disconnect when we are explaining the needs of the one user to the person who is actually doing the scheduling or workload automation needs, right? So we wanted to make sure that all the users, they have empowered to do what they want to do. And then whatever the work is done in the test environment, we wanted to make sure that we can easily promote it in there is a specific team to promote it in the production. So we should have those good control as well. Security, obviously, and just like any other organization, we wanted our focus was security as well. Make sure that it is meet the current cutting edge security needs, whether it's a complex passwords or the length of the passwords to make sure, and then an integration with SSOs, the sign-ons. So making sure that that was also one of the critical need. Moving on to the enhanced analytics, making sure that we get what the reporting we needed. Whether it's a dashboards or it is a customized dashboards or it is a scheduled reports. We wanted a tool that makes sure that we have, it was a 20 plus years of scheduling. That means that there was a lot of creativity from different individuals. There was a lot of custom script. It wasn't easy. If there is one person managing this application, that's what's going on, right? If there are a lot of different individuals involved in the scheduling, then that means it has a very creativity on each of those workloads, the scripts, how things work. So understanding them, that was not easy. So making sure that not only the complexity there, and then we're bringing up the volume. So the volume was quite huge, as the volume, if you see the 40,000 plus the SAP jobs, so we had to think about migrating. That means the complex interdependencies, right? So we have a good number of jobs in pretty much every area of the company. When I say complex, one analogy I can give you is think of a lot of tangled wires in like a big data center, right? Your task is not only just to untangle those wires, but you make sure that when you disconnect one piece of the wire, you're making sure that putting back to the right endpoint without causing any other problem. So that's how hard it was. So we have a lot of jobs. We have many SAP systems. So pretty much every of those systems, the jobs are running. We wanted to make sure that those dependencies, the cross-border jobs, and then the different teams, right? We have a supply chain, advanced planning and optimization teams, the finance team, their jobs overlap. So we wanted to make sure that how we do that, right? And then we wanted to get it right. Not only we're doing it, we want to get it right. Another challenge was the change management. Change management in terms of we literally had to face in terms of the people, process, and technology, how the people perceive things, and then we had to do a little bit of change management there. At some point, we were ended up maintaining a dual maintenance of the tools, making sure that the data is synced, right? And then we are here migrating, we're converting, we're doing things, but in the meantime, the business needs to be up and running. So how we do that? So we had to maintain and making sure that the data is consistent and accurate, and then maintain very well. So we had a process in place, what we need to be done. So we had a set of lockdown in place, like what date and when can be done. So that was easier to manage. So having those specific down dates and what changes and how are we maintaining this dual data, that made the process a little bit easier. Last but not the least, one of the bigger curveball was in the migration tool, right? I mean, when we converted from the job definitions, the conversion tool, it converted a majority portion of it, but I think it's probably 10-15% of the portion of the job definitions didn't convert it properly. So we kind of went back to the stakeholders. Hey, look, we have some of this data that we need to be kind of looked into it, and then they were reluctant about it. Hey, they had hesitant saying that. So you're telling me that your data is some of them is totally not right. So most of the teams, they basically say that we wanted to make sure that every single job definitions are correct. So we wanted to pretty much validate everything. It was not like handpick some data here, the handpick some of the data there. So we wanted all those 40,000 jobs. Each job had about 15, 20 different variables and then the fields, right? So that ended up to be a large work. In my opinion, validating the data was the most complex piece of the whole migration journey. Our approach was the feed. This is one of the value. This is one of the thing we follow in our company. The feed basically stands for focus, empowered, experimental, and digital. The focus here, what the focus was, zero business impact, right? I will assure you, every meetings we went to, every stakeholders, they come remind project team saying that whatever you guys stay doing it, make sure that we have zero impact, right? I mean, it's obvious, it's understandable. So that was our focus. And then I'm very happy and proud of the team that we did it. And then we were able to accomplish that. And then empowered, right? I mean, this is something, the scale of the project, it is something that it is not an individual task. It actually requires not only a project team, but the input from every stakeholder. So we planned with the agility. That means that we listened to them. We involved all the stakeholders from the beginning of the process. We asked their feedback. We asked for their input. What are their constraints? What are their challenges they see? What are the critical jobs were, right? And then we kind of are agile. We make sure that their needs are met. If you're not agile, this kind of scale of the project is pretty much impossible. Just kind of moving ahead with that. So we were very agile, and then we planned it accordingly, right? And then during the discussions, everybody had a lot of ideas in the stakeholders. Someone tells me, hey, why don't we just move from the least critical jobs first and then think about the higher critical jobs later, right? And then other teams probably say, hey, why don't we just move by the one system, one SAP system? Let's see how that works, right? And then some of them say, let's move some handful of jobs and then how things works. But in the end, I think what worked really well was one of the approach was we did it by the region. So since we have a different teams that overlap the job, the dependencies, we did by the region, like a Europe region, North America, Latin America, and then Asia. So we did it by the region. That worked out pretty well. In the empowered, the meticulous testing. So we had a checklist of many different things, what we wanted to test, make sure that SAP connections are tested well, the load testing, the number of the job, how the environment holds. So the testing, we did very detailed testing. We had a checklist of what to be tested. And then we made sure that testing everything else, and then we kind of do the sign-off process from the all different teams. During this migration, we didn't even challenge the vendor, like our vendor was vendor Stonebranch, right? And then we challenged them, and then unfortunately, they were good enough to listen to us, and then our needs and what the challenges were, right? And then some of the examples I can think of, the task monitor, the concept was it was waiting for a task to complete, but it didn't have what are the times before and after to monitor. So that actually, otherwise, if you didn't have those time constraints, the task ended up to be monitoring indefinitely, right? So that actually throw the big curveball in all of our workloads, so workflows, what to be done. So we asked the vendor, hey, we got to have this, right? So fortunately, in the next release, what they did even before the migration happened, we got those the features. So one of the feature was the search functionality. So they listened to us, and then that was good. That helped us a lot in terms of moving forward with it. Experimental. In this category, exploring the functionality, there was a lot of pieces in the tool. We explored it. We had actually dedicated people exploring the different functionality and how we can leverage each functionality to get more from the less. Right? Developing comparison sheet. This is the one I was talking about, the conversion of the tool. That when we migrated the data volume was so large. So this was kind of like in-house we built. They're developing the comparison report. Basically, we compared the cells of the definitions of what the existing definition versus what is about to go into the new tool. We compare them. We compare them in a way that it tells us what is missing piece, right? So that was highlighted. That was a huge effort from in terms of the whole project wise. So we were able to get it done, and then all the teams were very happy. So this was the biggest hurdle. And when we showed our stakeholders saying that, hey, look, this is something coming, we need to do it. This is how are we validating it. This is how we are making sure that your needs are met, right? And then they were very happy with it, the approach we took. So this is actually the biggest piece of it. Next one, moving on to turning a problem into an opportunity. We just didn't put the lift and shift approach. We took this opportunity as housekeeping, some of the archaic jobs we were there. As mentioned, they were scheduled for a long time. So we just didn't want to do the lift and shift approach. We took this time to make sure that anything that need to be cleaned up, the housekeeping, all the archaic jobs, the jobs that does not have any frequencies, they're not starting anything, they're not depending on anything, just taking up the space, right? So we cleaned it up. So we took those opportunities. So that was really big helpful in when going into the new environment. In terms of the digital, we are as a SaaS solution, it is helping us to integrate with other SaaS solutions we have. The Python is coming very handy here. So team has developed quite a few templates onto making our workload easier. Some of the example I can think of is like a self-created job scheduling, creating the workflows, some of the different jobs, the web services. So it is integrating with the other SaaS-based solutions. Though we have one of the tool we use to some of the critical jobs, right? It is not only just an email notification is needed. Some of the application teams, they ask for, hey, if this is job so critical that it will kind of impact the business, we need a phone call. So we have a tool to integrate it with the web services, using web services to make those phone calls as well. Splunk is another tool we use to send the data. So this is also kind of helping in terms of to monitor the data. What are the data we get out of it when we upload the data to the Splunk? This is also integrates with our one of the incident management system we have integrated there to the Splunk as well. So in terms of the digital, there are a lot of different things that teams are doing. So all of those efforts, these are the results. These were the exact mindset we had to going in. And then I think I'm happy to say that we got those results. So it is a unified solution. It is a high availability. We didn't have any issues since we migrated. The security terms of it, I think it meets our needs. Self-service also, we're leveraging self-service. We're empowering users to do what they need to be done. And then in terms of the compliance, this is one of the best feature that I like in the tool is the version control. So if someone making a changes, we don't know who did it. So this way you can track and then you can quickly revert back by just restoring to the previous version, and you can see a history of the version of the tool. It also helps us in terms of the audit, the findings or whatever we have. How can we trace those, right? And then it's a good feature that is helping us as well. How are we using the tool, the Stonebranch, leveraging the tool, right? And then there are two parts to it. One is within the Stonebranch itself, and then another part is with the help of the Stonebranch. So in this slide, I will talk about how are we using within the Stonebranch itself. This is number one, is the improved performance and reliability. So we wanted to make sure that there are no human errors. We wanted to make sure that the system is up and running, right? So the automated job creation. This is, in terms of the human error, this is a big plus. Making sure that whatever the tasks are created, we have a Google Sheet that kind of feeds into it. That actually helps to create all those job definitions. Whenever you have a human error, you know what the impact is, right? And then the second one is we control jobs by each SAP systems. So we have tagged each of the jobs by the system. So for example, if we have an ABC system that is having issues, we don't want all those tasks to be failed, we control them by just flipping one switch, right? And then we have an application field where we kind of just control saying that, hey, just stop all the jobs what are running right now. So this is a little bit easier. It helps a lot. And then it's just it helps in the project go lives. It helps when the system goes down. So it is within our own environment to control these jobs. In terms of the compliance, we have a solution put in place where we automated solution. It keeps up with the license management in terms of we don't run into any number of agent, number of SAP connections license. It sends an admin an alert notification that how are we doing with that? It's a monthly, but it also helps in terms of how are we overall managing these licenses. Admin privileges, even though you have a very limited number of admins in our environment, we wanted to make sure that there are no changes that are happening to the roles. So we have a report that kind of like monitors for the access, what type of users we have, what type of accesses they have. So if anything changes there, it kind of creates a red flag, sends a notification to the admin. It actually makes us to make sure that we are in compliance with what needs to be done instead of we acting too late. So these are all more of a proactive actions we are taking to making sure that we are up to date. Avoid human error. This is starting off the jobs in terms of the missing support groups, right? So if you know, there is a member of business service group, business services, right? We have normally we put in a support group name or an email address. Whatever the reason, if people who create the job, if they forget to put that in there, so basically there is no notification going out. So how do we fix that problem, right? And then proactively. So if there is no notification going out, that means that no one aware of the task failure or what actions to be taken. So these proactive steps are helping a lot in terms of we have a scheduled report that kind of like runs almost every day and then goes out there, checks if there are any new tasks being created. There are missing the support groups, so how we can fix them, right? So this is also helping a lot. Skip job runs when requested. Sometimes people in a team, it's not because intentional, it's avoid human error again. They skip the jobs, making sure that it is inconsistent, it's taken off as needed. So we have a kind of like an automation setup that runs and then making sure that what are the supposed to be jobs it's supposed to be in skipping this run today or tomorrow or the indefinite period we are in align with it. In terms of the effort savings, we are more partner with the GCP, but I think Stonebranch, the vendor, they use the AWS. So whenever we run a report in the SaaS solution, the report goes in the Stonebranch. So we wanted to make sure those reports get transferred to our Google Drive. So this is again helping a lot in terms of you don't want to be running those reports and asking the vendor, why don't you send me the report? And then we come back, we convert those reports back to CSV to something readable format, right? So we have the cloud with the Lambda functions. We have set up an automation that actually, whenever we run a report, within about 1 or 2 minutes, that report's kind of just converted with the CSV, uploaded into Google Drive. This definitely helped to the users whenever they're asking for a job definitions, a list of workflow. how the frequency, this is comes really handy in terms of when you were doing the big project go lives. System tagging of the jobs. So again, any new jobs, tasks, we schedule it. Before that, we make sure that we tag this based on the system. This actually helps in terms of the first topic I talked about, how are we controlling those jobs, right? So if you tag any of those tasks by whether it is an application, whether it is by system, so we kind of doing the multiple, but the tagging each task by the system, that actually help to identify whenever there is an impact to the system. How are we using the tool with the help of Stonebranch, right? And then number one, the bucket, I would say the SAP transports. So we have a program and variant schedule that actually moves those queues from the SAP STMST code to the actual import of the transport. So that way we don't have any human error, we don't have the sequence problems, right? So these jobs actually scheduled within the Stonebranch. Data collector, we have one of the SAP add-ons where we kind of collect the data on the SAP performance. There is some of the ins and out. So these are the data extractor jobs. So we schedule them in the Stonebranch as well. So make sure that we have a good visibility in the SAP and how it's going on with there. IT infrastructure. So if some of you recall, believe it or not, we still have some of the cron tab jobs which are critical. And then we wanted to have more visibility in terms of what are the job runs, the history, the notification piece of it, right? So we integrated that cron tab jobs with the Stonebranch, so we have those visibility. So we are able to get those history of those job runs, notifications are there, and then even the phone calls are there. So this is kind of helping a lot there. And again, I think I previously mentioned on this one, there's a must calls. That means that any notification we need to call for the jobs that are impacting the business, that are critical with web services. We are integrated in that piece as well. In the area of supply chain, we have some of the unique needs where some of the users, they like to do a simulation testing. They want to have a different capabilities. We also have some of the business users where you want limited access to them. It's not, you want a broad access. They can see all the tasks out there in the environment. There is a controlled way how you can control the users in terms of what they can see and what they can do with it. So we have a customized roles where we can assign a different team, and then each of those teams, they can exactly see what they can able to do. So those individual access customized roles is actually help a lot in terms of how are we handling those supply chain jobs. Audit jobs, it is something of Windows integration. We have a integration with many of the other environments as well. We have Unix, AX, Linux, and then Windows as well. So we have some of the audit script that are running in a different environment, particularly in the Windows. It does its own set of checks. So we have integrated Stonebranch to run with those Windows jobs as well.